Reverse redacting the headlines. This is Reverse Redaction. My name is Judah McNeil, and I'm here with Justin Putnam. We're going to look at the...
Wait, who? You're here with who?
Justin Putnam? Jared Putnam, sorry.
we were just talking about a different Justin, and then I suddenly got melded into him. We became one person.
Oh man, you don't want to become one person.
Oh wow, this is already off the rails, and we haven't even gotten through introductions yet.
Dude, something's wrong with my brain and name. So I'm actually here with Jared Putnam.
It's like I've said before. It's like the person you're here with is not even like, it's just a character being played by somebody else. Like, Ford from Panama City, that was just a character. He was played by a guy named Roger that lives in Omaha. I'm not really Jared Putnam, so
I outed you as your real
right.
Actor's name is Justin.
Right.
Jolly old Justin. Okay, so today in the news. Now, the news has provided, of course, at the top of the docket, more about Cohen and Manafort and Trump and all this drama that, I mean, go and look it up if you want to read it. But we're going to try to steer away today, maybe not tomorrow or whatever we do this again. But we have some other stories, maybe of a little bit more interest, and we're going to try to keep it down to 20 minutes. We're going to try again today. Now, you had an interesting story about what was yours?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a logical segue into mine from the Cohen Manafort thing, just because it deals with politics. So I came across a headline the other day. This was actually from NBC. And the photo though was of him, of this guy sitting down with Jeanine Pirro of Fox News. And so the headline was, "Meet Brandon Straka, a gay former liberal encouraging others to hashtag walk away from Democrats." And then the subhead is, "Brandon Straka became a conservative media darling after posting a video about walking away from the left." So anyway, so this was a guy who had been a New York City hairstylist and an aspiring actor with a small social media following. And that was 3 months or so ago. And then now he's a frequent Fox News contributor with about 70,000 Twitter followers, which actually isn't that many, all things considered. I'm surprised he doesn't have more. But so his posts have been shared by Donald Trump and Sarah Palin. So I just find this really fascinating, because I know we did the reverse redaction on Ben Shapiro that I don't know if it's gone up or out yet or not, but this just kind of dovetails off my fascination with these internet pundits who kind of, some of them come out of nowhere. Obviously, like Ben Shapiro is not someone that came out of nowhere, but
he kind of did when he was 17.
When he was 17, sure. But it's kind of created this movement where you can just, if you don't really have a lot else going, you can kind of just, this is kind of like your fallback thing. This is almost kind of like the new start your own YouTube channel thing. And maybe you can hit it big with YouTube, to where you'll see people like, and like I said, I mainly know it from the conservative side, because I think there are more sort of, even though grassroots is kind of like a Democratic term.
They coined the term, I think.
Yeah, even though grassroots, when it comes to this, it seems like there's more like grassroots conservative personalities that come up out of this, or it may be even somebody famous whose their career has kind of derailed, and then they see this as a way to kind of get back in the public eye, like Britt McHenry, who used to work for ESPN. She's, I mean, basically Tommy Lauren. So it's like generic Tommy Lauren, who she got laid off from ESPN and she became a conservative commentator. I think she even works for a Fox News affiliate. And she got in the news for a few different things, but I guess the most recent thing was which she had admitted that she had just bought tons of Twitter followers. And so when Twitter had its purge, like I think she was among like top 2 or 3 who lost the most followers. And then do you remember Chuck Woolery, the old game show host, like Love Connection host?
Yeah.
Chuck Woolery is like a huge like right-wing pundit now. So you can go check out his Twitter feed. But anyway, so Brandon Straka, who's got the the hashtag walk away thing. So anyway, I was just reading through his Twitter bio, and so he's got walk away campaign founder for booking press inquiries. He's got his email address. He says he's a former liberal, gay, conservative, outspoken, on a mission to red pill humanity. So he's kind of playing off the old the Matrix, blue pill or the red pill. But anyway, I just thought that was really fascinating that this guy, 3 months ago was a liberal hairstylist in New York, and within a few months, you can kind of just completely rebrand yourself. And yeah, like I said, I mean, and I think there's an interesting there's a difference between conservatives and liberals about you don't really see on the liberal side that I can think of, like ex-conservatives that are able to sell their brand identity as that. Maybe there are, and I just don't know them. But if you kind of, I mean, there are plenty of people on the internet who talk about their politics changing or whatever, but I haven't seen anyone that I can think of that has their brand identity based off that. What's interesting is on the conservative side of things, conservatives love the ex-liberals, especially if it's, if they're like, I mean, it's like Milo. Well, no, I don't know. Actually, I don't know Milo's history. I don't know if he was really liberal at one point, but
I mean, he's obviously he's very socially liberal.
Right. True. And just the fact that that he's gay, again, with Brandon Straka, the fact that he's gay, or even with like someone like Diamond and Silk. I don't know if you're familiar with them, where two African-American ladies who are professed conservatives, and they well, there's all kinds of different things with them, but I've seen different people share their videos and stuff, and they've been paid by the Trump campaign for certain things. And so anyway, I just find the phenomenon pretty fascinating, because it's one of those things where the right really loves those kinds of stories, and you can very easily, if you have a good narrative, build an internet brand off of that.
Yeah, two things about that. One is Reverse Redaction Twitter picked up Brandon Straka. Started following Brandon Straka a couple months ago, and I've retweeted several of his tweets. It's funny. I didn't set out to make the Reverse Redaction Twitter a big pro-Trump Twitter. but
it was inevitable.
It's funny how different the Reverse Redaction Twitter is from my well, I have several Twitters, but from my just like my main Twitter, that my go-to Twitter, Judaflix, I think, is the one I usually use. But it's amazing how different they are.
How so?
Well, the Reverse Redaction one is just, I set out to make it more of a Bitcoin accelerationist, more focused, feed.
Mhm.
And it ended up it's right now it's just like it's just pure, not pure, but it's very dominated by pro-Trump, mostly pro-Trump. Like you're saying, like the pro-Trump movement loves women
Yeah.
and homosexuals
Right.
and
Well, they love certain ones, certain personalities. Like in general,
conservative homosexuals.
yeah, but again, in an abstract sort of way of like this is someone who's agreeing with what I say. Like I don't know that they'll be
Yeah.
inviting him over for dinner, but in an
Oh.
abstract sort of way, they do love them. Yeah.
Well, as far as I mean, Twitter's not for inviting people over. I don't know if
No,
you noticed.
but I'm exaggerating that. You know what I mean? I mean they're not gonna like, you know, the question is like on a personal level, if they interacted with this person in their everyday life,
Yeah, but
how would they treat them?
you're just saying that's just coming out of a place of prejudice against
It's
conservatives.
absolutely it's absolutely true. I mean, if you look at what your you know, your average person on the far right, you know, believes and what their everyday life is like, you know, I mean, what percentage of them are going to be, you know, hanging out with you know, would hang out with someone with like that in real life, but they love them because they will say, they will agree with what they say. And the mentality is kind of like, you know, oh, if we just get one of them to you know, to admit the truth, like, oh yeah, he tells it, you know, like it is. He knows that the others are just playing up this victimhood. So it's just kind of like,
But you sneer at the concept of somebody appreciating somebody else's viewpoint that lines up with their own. Like, why? I mean, don't you appreciate more pundits and writers and Twitters that have a more moderate tone?
sure, but there's two differences there. One being, I am a lot more skeptical of them if they've suddenly if they've suddenly found a way to monetize their recently and drastically changed beliefs. Two, the other thing is, again, these are people that I would, you know, be happy to hang out with in real life if we happen to know each other. And again, like just the whole thing with you know, someone like Brandon Straka or Milo or whatever. Like again, like these people. It's such an abstract concept for people because it's just someone, you know, on the internet agreeing with them, and they can say, oh, I love them. Okay, well, you love them, but like, you know, would you go hang out with a conservative gay guy or conservative gay couple in real life? Like, you know, how much could you really put this into practice? So I'm just always pretty skeptical of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. You're just pretty much cynical about everything. But
for good reason.
Okay. I can't argue with that. But I mean, in general, nobody. We're talking about. Maybe you look at Twitter as more of a place of friendship. I look at Twitter as more of a place of entertainment, and you know, and the people that I follow, especially, I would say, especially Reverse Redaction, like I'm not looking for a connection there as much as entertainment, you know?
No. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I don't like what I always tell people about Twitter is that Twitter is good for for two things. And I say this kind of jokingly, but I mean it too. Twitter is mainly like a breeding ground for cyberbullying and FAW outrage, you know? So that's basically Twitter's two main purposes. So I don't look at it as a place for friendship at all. My point is bigger than Twitter or social media, even social media as a whole. It's that, you know, I just am really curious, would be really curious to see, like, for the people who love, you know, someone like Milo or someone like Brandon Straka, because, you know, your average person on the far right is probably not going to be hanging out with a ton of, you know, gay New York City hairstylists. But when there's this sudden like groundswell of love for this person just because you're saying what they want and you're like, oh yeah, you go. That's one thing. But then I'm just really curious. I'd be really curious to see if they had someone like that personally in their life, how they would actually treat them and how they would actually interact with them. I don't think it would even nearly be the same.
I'm just saying, you paint with a broad brush, my friend, with a broad brush.
Now you kind of have to. There's a lot of people out there. There's what, 8 billion people in the world. You can't go through them individually.
Okay, it's dangerous. I'm saying it's dangerous. Now, for my headline, this is interesting to me because of past reverse redaction. I'd like to get Ford's input on this as well as yours. I'm curious to see what you have to say. But the throttling of the bandwidth for the firefighters in California fighting the fire. So Verizon throttled the fire department's unlimited data during the California wildfire. Now there's a certain segment of the interwebs that is outraged by this, because it's like, you're putting people's lives at danger, and this was used. In fact, the emails back and forth in this situation are being used in the case to reinstate, the term escapes me, net neutrality.
Yeah. And
so the outcry is, this is why we need net neutrality. But from a different perspective, it's like, I feel like people want to treat the internet like it's an unlimited resource that companies, are maliciously, using this free, it's free to these big companies, and they're just maliciously hoarding it and just dripping it out to people just to make money. When, I mean, it's like anything else. It's a resource that takes resources to, to get to these firefighters. It takes money. Now, I'm a little torn, of course, because nobody wants to hinder the firefighters. But then again, we're working with a government here too. It's not like the firefighters are these like, groundswell of volunteers that are just, all they need is this internet to help them fight the fire. It was particularly used in one of their programs that was monitoring the fire, and so I could see how it was affecting their, what is called the OES 5262, a vehicle that is deployed to certain places, and it's watching the fire using using detection devices that are hooked to the internet. So it was important to have the internet going. It was important to have unlimited. But to get your take, should the internet just be an unlimited, unfettered resource to anybody that needs help?
Well, and I wasn't even familiar with this story at all until you brought it up this morning. So I've tried to kind of glance through it a little bit, to see if some of the details and if what all there was to it. I mean, it just seems weird to me. I guess in this specific case, that Verizon would do that. I mean, that just seems like you're asking for bad press. I mean, maybe they just thought that it wouldn't ever come out. But it's just one of those corporate decisions where you're just like, did this, in the long run, did this really save you enough to warrant the bad press that's gonna come out of this? So
yeah, no, I mean, but on the other hand, we're talking about Verizon. It's a big company that, they're saying it was a customer support mistake. Is every customer support person supposed to make this moral dilemma?
No, not at all. And so that was my question. Basically, I don't know the details of this. How did that come about in to begin with? So I wasn't sure if this was something that had kind of gone up the chain, and then they just said, no, we're not going to allow your unlimited data to continue. So yeah, I mean, if that's all it was, if it was just them talking to some low level, mid level customer support person, and they said, yeah, we can't do it, then yeah, I mean, it just seems like one of those things where that's kind of understandable to me.
Yeah, but I mean, even I mean, on a deeper level, I think it brings up a flaw in the argument of the people that are pro net neutrality, in the sense that, like, I understand, like, this would be a good opportunity for Verizon to be benevolent, right? Like, this is a good opportunity for there's no reason they should throttle it, but just on a neutral plane, should the government, that is providing these, this local government or whatever, this fire department, who I mean, like, they're not being funded by, they're not just doing this out of pocket. They're using the government funding, Should they be able to just have unlimited? Is there a right here that they should be able to have unlimited resources and not pay for it?
Right. Yeah, that opens up such a huge can of worms that I'm not that I don't even know if I really know enough about to give an educated assessment of, because in terms of like the funds that are being used to fight these fires, like where would that come from in this case, like for something like this unlimited internet? I mean, if this is spanning multiple counties or cities, I don't know what kind of federal funds are devoted to this. I mean, if it's a case where, like, federal funds go to it, then yeah, it seems like you should just be able to, like, stick it on the government's tab or something, and then let Verizon and the federal government work it out in terms of if Verizon wants to get paid for that, if they want to risk the bad press or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something like some little podunk rural county, which, I mean, in California, I'm not sure if there are rural counties as many people as there are, but say Montana or somewhere like that, if we have a different setting, if there's something like that and they need unlimited access or unlimited data in order to better fight the fire, then man, that's putting them in a tough position. So I would really have to know a whole lot more about how the funding structure is set up. I mean, in terms of your bigger question about the internet and how it should be treated and data distributed and when it should be slowed down, that's a big question.
I think that sets us up for another reverse redaction. I think maybe me and you, and maybe we could get Ford on here to revisit the idea, a year later,
right?
Maybe on the year anniversary of our last one, to talk about net neutrality and what we've learned till now.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're out of time. I think it's pretty interesting stuff. What was the name one more time of the hashtag walkaway guy?
Brandon Straka, Straka. And what was interesting was when I saw the whole walkaway thing was that I don't know if he was involved in this or not. Probably not, or otherwise there would probably be a story on it. But there were a bunch of different memes, like, circling on the internet of walkaway stories.
Yeah,
that turned out to be like photos of actors from Getty Images.
that leads into a further pertaining to internet marketing, search engine optimization, and how to manipulate, like, kind of getting into the idea of the how of political marketing.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. I say we just
hashtag Getty Images.
There you go. I say we just I say we just go back to the paper ballots, because I kind of miss the days of, if there's going to be election controversy, that we can have problems in terms like hanging Chad and pregnant Chad and all like the insanity that came out of like Bush Gore in Florida because Florida's elderly demographics had some trouble with voting machines.
All right, well, stay tuned for that. And in general, you know what? You know, it'd be kind of a good. I just thought of this. A good outro would be just like, stay tuned. You know, stay tuned in, not just to the headlines, but to the what's like a not a headline? What's like a headline that is not at the top?
What is a headline that's not at the top?
I love that. Well, you know, like
there's subheads, which is like the little more detailed version of the headline, or it tells you some different information underneath the headline. I think you're talking about something different. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure what you're going for.
I have to think about that and develop that. But all right, well, have a great day, and have a great day, anyone who's listening to this or watching.
That's right.